Hi everybody, this is the Baseball High, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball High 2. I hope you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So, we like to sort of defend the Mets when we can. And I'm not trying to be a shill or anything. I'm not trying to be, defend them when I can. That's silly. But I feel, and I felt for a long time, that the media in this town have been unduly attacking this club for a long time. A very long time. The biggest culprits obviously has been WFAN. I have done many videos in WFAN. It is the first time I've ever done a playlist on any of my channels is with WFAN. It was the first time I ever thought about doing a playlist. So I've done plenty of videos on them. You can watch them. I think they're all pretty amusing. It sort of highlights the fact that they're constantly complaining about our favorite team, America's team, the Mets. And I call them America's team. It's very simple, because it always seems that everybody's so invested in what the Mets do. Any move they make or don't make, you see it trending on X. So it must be something the Mets are as a team and as a franchise that people are very, very interested in what they do. That's why I call them America's team, because America is very invested, whether they win, lose, or draw, whatever they do. More than most teams. I don't see any other team. Well, WFAN has made it their livelihood to attack the Mets. They've been doing it for a very long time, and it seems to have gotten progressively worse since Steve Cohen bought the team. As you know, WFAN, in particular the morning show Boomer and Geo, have had a very close relationship with Barstool Sports, and they're good friends with Dave Portnoy. They've had that grifter Frank Fleming on. He was on last week. Well, this is not what this video is about, but I'm just giving you an example of what's going on. Now we have the other big sports talk radio station in this town, and that's ESPN New York. ESPN New York was supposed to be, quote-unquote, the alternative to WFAN. Because WFAN has been dominating the local airwaves in this part of the country, in New York, since 1987, 37 years. But they have failed. They're a failed attempt to do it. They're going to be losing very shortly their FM dial. So they're going to be an AM radio station. They always were an FM station. The WFN started as an AM. They still have AM, but they went off and became an FM dial. They're not losing that. But ESPN is losing that. And ESPN is owned by Disney. And it's very interesting that Disney could not bring down WFAN. And part of it is, and it's the same disease that WFAN is suffering from, but the only difference is that WFAN is looked at sort of more of a local thing. ESPN is sort of an intruder, I think. But they do the same content, and it's less New York-centric. That's a big reason why it has failed utterly. And one of the biggest failures on that radio station is Michael Kay. There's the Michael Kay Show. Now, if you don't know, Michael Kay is also the main announcer on the Yes Network, which broadcasts the Yankee games. And Michael Kay and a slew of 1,000 different former Yankees broadcast the games. And he's been doing this been broadcasting games actually for 30 years, because he was doing WABC for many years with the horrible, and it means terrible, John Sterling. But he has come out now, of course, he sees how great things are getting, all the attention that WFAN is getting with this whole nonsense with the Mets. Now, the Mets are an interesting situation. They have a very good chance to probably win 80 games. I'm thinking about 80 to 82 games. That's how I'm looking at it right now. I got to go through the schedule a little bit, which is much more improved than it was last year. But let me read you from an awful announcement. Someone mentioned this on the live stream of the Baseball Hut 2, that Michael Kay came out and attacked the Mets. And he basically said the same monkey crap that the assholes over and the people at the insane asylum WFAN have been saying really for the last 3 years, and really for the last this whole offseason. From awful announcing, headline, Michael Kay slams Mets offseason as derelict in duty. I didn't realize the Mets were an Army I didn't realize they were cops. Now, I would mention, back at the beginning of the NFL season, Michael Kay said after the New York Giants, had lost a game against the Cowboys opening night, that the night before, Coach Brian Daboll had a wild orgy party at his house. Well, the retard known as Michael Kay had egg on his face when he found out that it was a 7-year-old birthday party. So he had to recant that stupidity. Here's the article. Not everyone is in love with the New York Mets offseason. While Major League Baseball teams prepare for spring training, analysts are busy predicting their performances for the upcoming season. The Michael Kay Show recently looked at ESPN predictions that ranked the 30 MLB teams, and the outlook for the Mets is not particularly optimistic. Projections suggest the Mets will win around 80.5 games and have only a 33% chance of making the playoffs. These predictions seem reasonable considering the challenges the team faces. New York needs some lucky breaks to go their way, and they're openly stated that they are in a rebuilding phase until more money becomes available in 2025. After missing out on Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the Mets prioritize experienced players like Harrison Bader, Luis Severino, and others on short-term deals instead of pursuing some of the free agents in the market's upper echelon. This approach has drawn criticism, particularly regarding the DH position. While Marfientes is getting a chance to prove himself, he hasn't been an overly well-thought-of prospect and struggled in limited MLB at-bats last year. Now, his at-bats were very limited because Billy Epler did not want to play him. He was covering his ass because he made a bad trade and made a couple bad trades to the deadline prior to the prior season. Some argue that this is a missed opportunity to address a significant need for a more established hitter. That includes, Yankee announcer Michael Kay. Reasons to game at the team's offseason approach, particularly what he perceived as an unwillingness to spend money. Now, the Mets still have the highest payroll in baseball. And they are paying two guys, not to pitch for them, two guys that are injured. Now, as an aside, I thought it was interesting that back in August, that our boy, Spaz Licata, also known as Sal Licata, was wearing a paper bag over his head after the Mets traded Justin Verlander. Justin Verlander cannot pitch beginning of his spring training because his arm is not good. Now, I wonder if he's going to say he should not have wore a paper bag since now he's not pitching. Probably not. Quote, this is from Michael Kay. Now I always have to really dance very gingerly around this because I will be labeled Yankee Boy for my take. But I don't think the Mets have anything to be proud about. The way they handled this offseason. Said, maybe Kay, you know what it might be? Kay just might want my attention. And there's no thinner-skinned guy than Michael Kay. You took the one thing with Steve Cohen that puts you above and beyond everybody else. You won great advantage, and you didn't exercise it. You can't tell me that if you went out and got Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery and signed J.D. Martinez as your DH, you wouldn't be projected for 90 wins, 10 more wins. There's no way. Let's have a lot of holes here. I'm going to be honest with you, folks. There's a bit of a question mark on right field. Who's going to play there every day? Starlin Marte's healthy. He says he's healthy. We don't know who the third baseman is going to be. And the options aren't great. Mets didn't want to spend any money for any veteran players this offseason. It was a lousy trade market. It was a lousy free agent market. And beyond Yamamoto, who were they going to sign? Does Blake Snell put them over the top? Blake Snell was on a team that was bad last year. They win 80 games, the Padres? 82 games? Jordan Montgomery is a number 3 starter. Is he a guy that has put you over the edge? And J.D. Martinez is 36 years old. He's a Scott Boras guy. And is he worth giving him a 2-year contract at 36 years old? I don't think so. And 2 years ago, he had a bad back. This is just Michael Kay just trying to keep up with the Joneses. One failure, trying to catch up with a radio station that's failing. Kay partially hits the mark regarding Martinez, with whom the Mets have reportedly had a dialogue. On the other hand, while Kay suggests the Mets should have pursued long-term deals with certain unsigned pitchers, there are counterparts to consider. For Snell, signing him would have incurred significant draft pick and bonus money penalties due to his qualifying offer rejection. Would you want to give him prospects for him? Mets are trying to rebuild their farm system. That makes no sense. But Chanel signing with him, the cost and potential concerns about aging and declining performance throughout a long-term contract makes his acquisition less attractive. Also makes it unattractive that he walks 5 batters per 9 inning. And he's a sort of a version of Oli Perez. As for Montgomery, he wasn't eligible for a qualifying offer due to his mid-season trade from the St. Louis Cardinals to the Rangers. But acquiring a 31-year-old pitcher like Montgomery carries similar concerns to the previous additions, Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. We know that being a younger team and being a younger group is much more advantageous at this point in baseball than to be an older team. The PEDs are not in the game. These guys aren't going to last forever. I'm just saying this. While owner Steve Cohen's significant financial investment allowed those trades to Scherzer and Verlander, it also meant absorbing sizable contracts. It ultimately led to acquiring highly rated young prospects like Drew Gilbert, Luis Acuna, and Ryan Clifford. While Kay's point about established starting pitching is valid, Mets' approach may have been driven by costs and concerns about long-term risk. These players weren't any good. I mean, these are guys that long-term, they'll probably play well this year. But the reality is, you cannot make these kind of moves if you're a team that's in a sort of a restocking. I mean, the Mets are doing what the Dodgers did last year. And so they didn't sign any big contracts. They signed a lot of little contracts. They look for depth pieces. Then you see what Don LaGreca said. He played down his co-host Kay's criticism. Mets owner Steve Cohen. Are Cohen is committed to building a sustainable team for the future. Now, let me read you what Kay had to say. You look at the starting rotation they have going into the season and what they have done offensively, which is nothing. Again, if the Mets get a healthy Jeff McNeil and a healthy Starlin Marte, they should be in pretty good shape. They'll score some runs. But it's all about the pitching. The Mets pitching was so bad last year, folks. They could not get out of the 4th inning. This is a man who bought the team and said he was going to win a championship within 5 years. This is year 4. They win a championship this year, and everybody keeps going, well, there's a plan. Well, what's the plan? Well, he said the minute he introduced himself. He said he wanted to build a strong farm system. He's doing that now. But they tried to win a lot of games in 2022. They won 101 games. The Wilpons never did that. Doubleday and Wilpon didn't do that. So he's done something that nobody has done in the second year of owning the team. How many owners win 101 games in the second year of owning a team? I can't think of any. And again, this is not about defending the Mets. This is about being fair. And like I said, ESPN is a failure as a radio station. Complete, total failure. I'm not joking. They have failed utterly as a radio station. And Kay is at the forefront of it. Kay struggled for over 10 years to pass up Mike Francesa. He never could do it. Then Francesa retires. Then he became number 1. And then he was fighting Francesa when Francesa came back out of retirement. And then right after that, he re-retired as Francesa. And now ESPN doesn't have an FM dial. So if there's anybody that knows about not getting it done, it's Michael Kay. Michael Kay is unhinged as a radio host. He's one of the biggest shills of all the shills at Yankee Stadium. We know the other 2 shills that are broadcasters. That's Michael. There's 3 of them. Michael Kay, he's like the 3rd one. The worst is Susan Wolman and John Sterling and him. I feel so bad for David Cone. David Cone should get the hell out of the Bronx. Try to come back to the Mets and be a broadcaster here if you can. Get the hell out of that insane asylum known as the Bronx. But anyway, I mean, you think about it, you have some of the biggest shills in this town that work for the Yankees. Met announcers and broadcasters don't act like this. Okay? But again, Michael Kay he's at a failed, completely, totally failed radio station. His show is a failure. And quite frankly, his co-hosts hate him. They hate him. And that's not part of some act. They really despise him. And it doesn't really... He belittles them on the air. It's disgusting. Well, That's all I have to say about that. Well, thank you for watching this video. Of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut too. This is not an insane report. This does involve WFAN. This is the failure report, starring ESPN and the clueless clown known as Michael K.